through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup buzz a whisper. Conversations open doors. Spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light. Consult the heart, make it sing. New perspectives on each wing.
Hey guys, good morning. Good morning. Listen, I've been gone. Have you missed me? Did you notice? I have been on a break. I have been on a very good, restful, soul filling, awe inspiring, music filled, event driven break. So, good morning. I'm excited to be back. Guys, thank you for coming. This one's going to be a hot topic. So there's a few things I'm going to do this morning. Number one, we're going to start with ground rules. I know this is weird, right? Because Melissa jumps in and usually explains her stuff, but I'm going to dive right into, before we get into comments, before you say too many good mornings in any way, shape, or form on all the platforms I'm on, I just want to add a disclaimer today because this is a hot topic. As an American, I can tell you we're in the news every day, right? And I am not oblivious to that fact, nor am I able to keep those conversations out of my conversations. I'm a coach. I'm a business consultant. These are things that come to me every day. Heck, I have kids and family and humans who I like and are friends with in this country who have questions. And so really what I wanted to do is address it without getting too political. I wanted to address it without rocking the boat too much, guys. I wanted to tap into it for a reflection moment for all. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm not here to have you tell others what to think. Write that down. Nobody's here to tell others what to think, really. And I'm trying to make sure my tone stays that way. So feel free to go, hey, watch the way you're displaying it, because I want to share my vision for what the American dream is. I want to reflect back to an assignment that I was given decades ago that had a ripple effect within my life. It's hard to do so in today's climate without it getting sticky. And so before it gets sticky, let me start with the disclaimer. Coffee Chats with Melissa Ann Houston is a personal project and passion platform. The views, opinions, and ideas expressed in this show are solely my own and do not represent the views of any current or former employer, client, or affiliated organization. Content shared is for general inspiration, connection, and conversation, right? Coffee chats. And should not be considered legal, medical, or professional advice unless I explicitly state this. This, again, is a dream show today, right? This is what I'm sharing about my dreams. Listener notice, this is a community built on curiosity, respect, and growth. I will have it no other way. While discussion may be real, raw, and sometimes emotional, listeners are expected to keep all comments and engagement respectful and appropriate. I will not tolerate hate, harassment, or heckling. We just want heart and humanity. And I will tell you, I also had ChatGPT help me write this because I wanted to make sure I covered the bases. I wanted to make sure I set good boundaries, like be a bubble. A bubble has boundaries. But I also wanted to be clear, guys. The reason for the show is not to get the fire stoked in a negative way. This is to get that passion burning within you to move into action. But I really wanted to think back as to like what started the fire, right? I have that song. We didn't start the fire, da da da. You know, go Google it. But if I'm really using that mindset of like, I believe that I was put here for a reason. I believe, as Melissa Ann Houston, as a faithful person, as a Christian, that I have a purpose. And my purpose is to help you guys figure out your purpose. Because if we're all doing purpose, I believe that we're going to do the right things. That there's a reason those really positive things that are burning in our soul that we can't put down, that we can't disregard, that to-do list that keeps returning even if we've forgotten it forever, and then all of a sudden like, wow, I meant to do that a decade ago, why is it back? Those are those things I want to tap into. Okay, also, I'm a big kid. I think we all are. I think we were forced to grow up. Can you just drop a yep, that's me? If you were forced to grow up, you turned 18 and got told, hey, good luck. Maybe a little sooner, maybe a little after, but maybe you were like, hey, wait, I don't want to do this adult thing the moment they told you you're adulting. Now, some of you probably ran for the exits, and that's cool. But do you still have those kiddo passion projects in your soul built in? Right, that's part of what we're going to talk about too. So, get a pen and paper ready. I actually have my coffee chats planner, guys, and this is not a pitch. I was digging through during vacation. I was digging through my desk, and I found my OG audio coffee chats planner. Back then, they didn't record them. And so I created this sheet, this form that I could fill out with my host and the topic and some key points and some stuff. And I found that book. So I have it today because I was like, you know what? I know they record it now. And I know there's all this documentation here with StreamYard. And, StreamYard's pretty effective. I got to say, I like it. But it's so nice to put pen to paper, guys. If you know Melissa, that's where I live. So if you don't know me, though, can we get into it? It's 10 minutes in. Hey, documentthenect.com. Go check it out. It's my website. It's also the premise in which I think all success lies. You get a good thing written down on paper. It could be a contract. It could be a to-do list. It could be pricing. It could be as simple as a yard sale sign on the corner. Neon, right? Just yard sales, smiley face, this way, arrow. If you document, people act, whether it's yourself or others. That's truly what I believe. And so go check out what I do. Go check out how we do it. Go check out the cost to sign up with me. But really, go check out the testimonials too. Go figure it all out. Figure out who I am. And you might even see some planners there. So, guys, good morning. I just want to say hello to some of my friends. Thanks for coming, Aaron. Aaron's a fantastic support guy. Can I just tell you that? He did the show opener. That song that I love so much, that I have been missing so much, that's his work. Okay. Just so glad to have you guys here. Lisa, hey, how are you? Deb, welcome. Oh my gosh, can I just say I love your picture too. This is so much fun, Deb. I gotta say. So some of the comments are not going to carry over from LinkedIn. I can tell already. My friend Jay was in my comments on LinkedIn, but it's not reflecting here. And so I just want to be mindful. If you guys aren't seeing your comments come up, if I haven't addressed you, or if I tell you I don't see your comments, go to YouTube. Also, guys, go to YouTube anyway. Go subscribe. I'm trying to grow over there. Document then act. Just go look for it. You can do a hashtag coffee chats. You'll find me there too. I am Melissa in Houston, and we're going to get started. So let's get into it. What is the American dream, guys? I don't want to define it for everybody. So I want you to tell me if you could do it in just a few words. One sentence. What does it mean? Really, like some stranger off the street, I don't know, the founding fathers, time travel, they come back and they're like, hey, tell me what it means today, right? Because I will say for me, this is a statement, this is a belief, this is a concept for me that's ever evolving. And I'm going to dive into where this conversation with myself began. Okay, so while you're defining this for yourself, let me define it for myself. Miss Jeffries, I love her so much. I would love to find her. I swear she had such a ripple in my life, and so many core memories in school go back to her classroom. It could be because maybe Melissa Houston repeated her class more than once. I had behavioral issues due to some stuff going on at home and not a lot of accountability, and I was just me. But always with a smile, always with fun. I was kind of the bully's bully. And so some of the chaos that I was facing was because I stood up for the little guy, right? And I think what she knew was she had a powerful force in her classroom. And oh, to this day, I feel so bad for teachers. I always offer them unlimited Starbucks, right? I really gotta say. Um, when I meet a teacher, I'm like, whatever you need, call me day or night, tissues, Kleenex. You just need a massage. I don't care. Call me. Because I genuinely appreciate what I put my teachers through unknowingly, right? I was doing things, but I never understood my ripple back then. And so I have to give her credit because not only did she deal with me for one semester, we did it twice. That said, she was one of the more profound teachers in my life. And it was because she actually gave a darn about what she did. She took the time to slow down and say, Melissa, this is what I need from you. Melissa, you can do so much better. And if you followed the show, you will have known about this teacher before. Maybe you've heard about when I wrote something about my grandmother and she had passed. We were supposed to write a letter to somebody alive or dead. And I wrote to my grandma. And instead of correcting the document itself, she just put a sticky note on it. And she told me, I didn't want to mark this up. I want you to keep it. And I did. And it's in a binder in my storage right now, kept forever because she told me to. When she gave me that kind of feedback where I don't even want to edit your work on paper, I don't even want to touch this because it was such a profound story, right? Because it was, um, that she didn't want to change it. And I was grateful. Like it didn't help my grammar any, guys. I still have to pay for Grammarly. But for me, that was the ripple, right? And so to know a teacher saw me, heard me, felt me, experienced the story along with me to that extent, it there it was, right? And so then she comes back with this other assignment, the American Dream. Another assignment she gave us was to write a letter to a business to tell them about a product they could improve. And I wrote to Johnson and Johnson about their invisible Band-Aid, which for me, the Caucasian, was invisible. For my friends who weren't Caucasian, it just looked like they had a beige colored Band-Aid on their skin. And so I wrote a letter to them. Years, decades later, we're seeing more diversity on the shelf, right? And so again, profound ripple. Did I write that letter? Yes. Did it land with them? I don't know why they did it. I'm sure hundreds, thousands more have written that letter. But she encouraged us to do those things that you see every day on LinkedIn now. Okay. Or at least I do. Again, first person perspective today. That said, sit down. Let me set my scene, right? When I write here, when I'm live now in Washington, I have this beautiful bay window. I have all of this foliage in front of me, both inside and out. I have comfort. I have everything I want to write. But when I was writing back then, I was very likely hungry. Maybe I ate a big lunch at school. Maybe I had some snacks. Maybe I ate a thing of crackers or whatever after school. But we didn't do a lot of food in the house. Maybe there was some ramen, right? That's maybe. I had a mom struggling with depression. I had a mom struggling with addiction. We were living at this time in a 1 bedroom apartment with my mother, her boyfriend post conviction out of prison, and my sister and I. And we weren't supposed to be by the husband, the boyfriend. I'm not husband, the boyfriend at this time. He actually was very warned to stay away from us by the courts. So, curious situation to be writing this in, right? What a curious question to have to deal with while I'm living this life. But I did. And I thought about how black and white television, which I was raised on, um, it was the house, it was the car, right? The Brady Bunch. That was a dream for me. I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to have somebody help us clean the house and help with the kids. And the mom and dad are both always smiling. And oh, Jan is kind of the outset when it goes wrong, right? It was never a 3 letter word. It was a 4 letter word. When things went wrong in my house, it was never, oh, Jan or oh, darn. It was different. And so when I kept contemplating, and this is not like a sob story, right? But this is just perspective. If you're in a room that is not kept, I'm a teenager with the smaller sister, 5 years younger. We're sharing a space. It's chaos. How do you have two worlds in one room? It's always chaos, even in the most well organized moment. And it wasn't well organized. So I'm writing this going, what is my dream versus others? And the white picket fence and the 2.5 children and the stereotypical stuff that I was finding when I was researching then was not what it felt like for me. And I was looking at some of your guys's definitions, right? And I love what I'm seeing. I got to scroll back because they're coming in now. Let's see. Liberty and justice for all. Deb, agree 100%. We're going to get into that too. American dream is for me to be happy and safe. I love that. Right? We got some good morning shout outs here, and I'm going to just keep it going on. Um, so I'm writing this and I think about it and I really get into it. And I basically tell the story of the American dream really just being this moving piece, right? It's not static. It is not something where we can just stamp it out on a piece of paper. Here you go. You get your dream. Go ahead, have your day. It's not. Even if you get to have the dream, let's say your dream was the white picket fence, 2.5 children, the dog, the puppy, the 2 cars, the vacations in summer, the things. Are you done once you get it? Like, okay, we have 2.5 kids. We're done. There's no more dreaming. Oh, we did the vacations. We're done. We don't dream. What does this look like? Right? And so I was going through different things with ChatGPT. I love using it for the show. I'll be honest, because I usually prep an hour before the show with all the things that I've contemplated since posting. And I wanted to go through some of the quotes of people who are relevant to our history in the US. I don't remember who I researched back then, but I wanted to pull from things that I assumed would be accessible to me back then. Things that maybe I had learned, things that I had heard, things that I was taught to believe in as I grew up in this American system, right? So the American dream is a dream of a land in which life should be better, richer, and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. Now that is where it started. And I wanted to give him credit, right? James Truslow Adams, coined the term American dream in 1931. So not necessarily like a founding father stamped on the bottom of the Constitution necessarily, right? If the American dream marketing began in 1931 in this way, I wanted to start there. But there's others, right? We have the American promise is not the promise that all will be rich or all powerful. It is the promise that all shall have their chance. I really like this one, guys. I like this one because, one, if this is not true, then I'm a liar. If this is not true, and I want to say, actually, if I could go ahead and just put a sticky note over it, not to really change what he said because I respect what he wrote, just like my teacher, but maybe I could just put the people promise, right? Like not just the American promise, but the human promise. The one that we're talking about on LinkedIn globally for me, again, me talking to you guys, globally, the promise Melissa's making is not the promise that we'll all be rich or powerful, but it's the promise that you all will get a chance, right? If I could rewrite that, it would be everybody everywhere gets a chance to do their thing. Because again, if we go back 10 minutes, I told you Melissa in Houston believes in God, has faith, believes that whatever this purpose is for us living, believe, because if you have faith, there's usually a purpose driven mission behind that thing, the reason we're here. And so for my faith, I believe there is a reason everybody has a fire inside. If you are living and breathing, there's a reason you're going to have a ripple. And I might not see the ripple today. I don't know if Jeffries' core mission was to live so she could inspire me. So one word I say creates the next cure for something. I don't know. I don't know. That's not my job to know. I don't even have to chase the ripple, to be honest with you. I don't. It's going to come back eventually. If you throw a rock out, it's going to hit the back of the end of the lake, right? It's going to go from your boat to the edge of the water. And then when it hits the edge of the water, it comes back. Ripples have an effect of coming and going. And so I have seen people leave, just like a teacher. You see your elementary school student go off, and then eventually you run into them at a graduation. Your kid happened to be in the same year as that student, and so you were at the same high school graduation ceremony, and you happen to see your student return and graduate. That's the ripple returning, right? That's an example. So, in my belief system, I think everybody should have this. The only way we can do this, though, in my opinion, is to overlap the Venn diagram. That your dream is your circle, your definition, your way of defining it. My dream is my circle. And really, the only way I think this can visually work for us guys, and I want you to follow along, is if you imagine that Olympic ring set and then just copy paste it below, above, and to the side in every direction infinitely. Just never stop. Because that's really what it's going to take to allow humans to do what they were meant for if you believe like Melissa believes. Now, you don't have to. You could stop watching now. As a matter of fact, if you're being upset about the conversation, please do. Don't anger yourself. I would suggest you come back when you calm down. Maybe pick back up. Maybe be part of Team Replay. Take it in small chunks. It's fine. It should not be angering anybody at that point. At this point, in my opinion, all I'm saying is chase your dream. Do it worldwide. The same thing I said last week. Okay. We become not a melting pot, but a beautiful mosaic. Different people, different beliefs, different yearnings, different hopes, different dreams. Jimmy Carter. If you use that visual I just gave you, right? Think about Jimmy Carter. Think about being in that gymnasium, that school gym. You remember parachute day, right? What if every human in America, in the world, this is a global conversation, got a sliver on that colorful rainbow? Where we all have to work. We all have to hold our part, right? I'm not here to say everybody should just be here and whatever. I'm not going to get into qualifying. All humans are here for a purpose, if you believe like Melissa believes. So God already said they're qualified, in my opinion. So if that's true, give them the slice of pie that God already said they qualified for, in my opinion. And we all grab a piece of that parachute in the gymnasium, right? If we're here to do the work. then let's do the work. So let everybody have their little piece, right? Their little slice of the pie. It doesn't take away from your slice of the pie. It doesn't change the color of your slice of the parachute, right? All it's asking you to do when you're in that gym, and guys, remember parachute day, say parachute day. I just want to know, like, give me a hint you're awake still. Um, but imagine that. What if we all just envision this whole global movement of following your dream, whatever vision you have, whatever country you're in, right? We all have this marketing because loyalty and we're proud and we should. Patriotism, whatever form it is, and as long as everybody gets a slice, I'm all for it, right? I'm all for everybody at the table. So if it, because in gym we were able to do parachute day and I could sit on my slice, my color, my thing, my foundation, and I could move in my circle, my little bubble, sway back and forth and not touch my neighbor. I could do it, have fun, do it my way, lean forward, lean back, double time. It doesn't matter. I was still there as long as I was holding my side, my slice down, sitting on business, as it were. Right? And guys, I hope you're getting this visual. I really hope you are. Because if you think about it that way, it's a lot easier to let others play in their slice, in their colors, in their fun. Now, I will also say, yeah, but Melissa, you're not even thinking about the laws, the rules, whatever. Please go check out the LinkedIn profile. You will see that I am not opposed to laws by any means. I did a decade or so of background screening, criminal background reports nationwide. I helped criminals fix their issues and get things removed and expunged. I help people who were falsely accused get it removed from permanent records. I help people with bad credit, things they had paid off, get it removed from their credit report because it was falsely reported on a background check. I worked with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to help you protect yourself against those bad reports. I also came from a family who had been affected by crime. I have 7 aunts and uncles, and a good percentage of my grandmother's children face legal difficulties. A good portion of them, a good percent of them faced drug challenges. I had my own sister spend 3 years in prison. I am not separated from the concept of criminals exist. I am not separated from the fact that not everybody gets to do everything they want because sometimes there are bad apples who want to do bad things. It ruins the pie. I get it, right? That's not what I'm here about. I'm here about dreams. We're not talking nightmares, guys. And so that's what I want to make sure we're focused on. Are there problems? Yes. What do we do about problems in Melissa's show? We take our own problems, our reflections, and we put them on our own piece of paper. And then we create our own action plan to fix that problem. If you're seeing things that are happening that you don't agree with, we got to write it down and we got to work on it. You see crime in a neighborhood, get a neighborhood watch together. Volunteer, walk around, patrol. I remember as a kid, there was this guy who would walk around our neighborhood with a flashlight and he welcomed all the neighbors to join him. Whole families would go just walk with this guy. What it showed was a community of unity. And when you have that, people don't mess around as much. That's why HOAs have lesser crime rate. Have you noticed? Now, using that concept, unity of community, knowing it reduces the bad. We are in the community of coffee chats. That's where we're at, right? So if you have been here, if you're a fan and you're not aligning with this messaging, ask yourself why you've been following. This is a you reflection, not a me reflection, because my message is no different than last week, last year, 3 years ago. I just went through my journal like I told you. Okay. I have always believed in the power of the American dream. I grew up in Mesa, Arizona. I'm an Arizona girl. Funny story, before Arizona was a state in the United States of America, it was Mexico. Literally wasn't part of us. The state I grew up in was part of them. The finger quotes, guys, right? Please play along. But that's the thing, right? So we just move lines sometimes. We change our boundaries, we move our bubbles, and we shift. And then we expect it to just look different, be different, whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of assumptions out there. And so let's do some history, right? I grew up in Mesa, which means I'm also the center of numerous Indian tribes, Native American tribes. I was raised with a diverse cultural aspect because my mother made sure we were at every community cultural event we could attend. We went to powwows. We went to the Cinco de Mayo festivals. We went to the Martin Luther King parades. We went to the Veterans and Labor Day parades. We went to the Holocaust Museum. We met Holocaust survivors because I used to take care of one. It was my first job as a caregiver. I have touched the tattoo given to her without her permission. Okay, so when I think about what created my dream set, guys, this is where we are. This is my truth. This is what I was raised to believe. Now, I also sat in the classroom when given this assignment that asked me to focus on what I believed. And really, when I had to reflect back on the core messaging, just bullet points, because I know I'm a little on fire this morning and I don't want to get too heavy, but it was I wanted food. I wanted friends and fun and family. Because when I was younger, I remember picnics in the park almost weekly. Potlucks, everybody brought a dish. Grandmas and great grandmas were there, and there were balloons and streamers, and we always had fun. There was some kind of creative game grandma would create, right? Just that was my dream. I didn't care about the house necessarily. I just wanted the experiences of family. That part of the gray, black and white television I watched, and I had until I did. This one right here. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be the great strong land of love. I want this almost tattooed on me if I'm being honest, because guys, is that not what it is? Isn't that the greatest part of being an American is to chase that American dream, right? Isn't that the marketing? Let's just talk marketing, business strategy. Think about the Statue of Liberty, right? I was raised to respect it. I was raised to know what it was about and who gave it to us and why and what it was. That's history. I don't know if you got taught that. It was in my classes. And I was a big fan of that book. I'll tell you why. Number one, I didn't really like to focus in class, maybe a little ADHD, but I love to take the book home and sit and read it, genuinely sit by myself and dive into the story. It's still the way I like to focus today. And it was so important to me and so inspiring that I did it all the time. To this day, if you go to my Amazon order, like search history, save list, there are so many history books from my youth that I want to revisit as a grown up. I would love to fact check the history book that I was raised on. These are things that Melissa dreams to do as an American. Is it silly? No. Are you paying attention? We should all fact check all the time. I'm a background screener. I said that, right? So when I did backgrounds, I realized that none of the people that I was believing were trustworthy had a 100% success rate in passing the background check. The CEO, the teacher, the administrator, the janitor, I don't care what it was. Every industry, every role, there would be someone who showed up with a record. When you realize that's a truth, when you Google how many of one type of criminal conviction is around you in your town, you get some clarity, right? And so I'm not obtuse to it. But at the same time, guys, isn't the dream of recovery still part of the American dream? Overcoming, achieving, defeating the bad, whatever the bad was. I know when my ancestors came here, because I was not from here, my family migrated. I did my ancestry kit to help find my dad, and I found out that I'm Irish, German, English, and French. It's so funny because you don't think about American because that's not a thing when they talk about ancestry, but it is a persona that people carry just as heavily. And I'm sure there is that rootage, right? Like, I'm sure maybe others in other countries are delivered that messaging from America, and that's cool. But truth is, my great grandparents, my great grandparents, no, great great grandparents, so my great grandmother's parents, French Canadian was my grandmother, and my grandfather was English, and he had come from Europe. So when I stand here and I think about my American dream, and I'm like, I'm just really lucky that my ancestors decided we need more. We're dreaming bigger, and we're buying into whoever was marketing to the Europeans at the time. I just my story. I don't know what your story is, but I don't know any of my family members who came over and said, let's just go tear it up over there in America and make it worse. However, I did admit that there's a good majority of my family members who had an impact that wasn't for the better for all society. It's not their forever story, but it happened. So, that's a concept I want you to chew on, right? Not all Americans, 1 in 3, as a matter of fact, are convicted of a crime. And those are the convicted, not necessarily those who have committed one, just caught. 1 in 3. That's a very diverse list of reasons and people and all of that, right? So I just want to be clear. But then the other part of it is, let's say you did it right. Let's say that persona that everybody is kind of pitching in the marketing right now, yeah, businessmen, successful, you sew in, you do it, business, whatever it is. I don't know. Define it for you. For me, it just seems like there's this upper class that thinks they get to define what the American dream is, who gets to partake, in my opinion. And it's not really settling in for me and my dreams and how I function. Like I said, Olympic rings all over, multiplied, duplicating forever. Everybody's overlapping. Everybody has a circle. Everybody gets a chance under that gym parachute to have their slice of their color of whatever to hold down their business. And that's not what I'm seeing. So I don't know what it is for you, but let's say we get to where they say we're supposed to be. Then, right? Because the American dream should not be stagnant. It shouldn't. It shouldn't be a story that's done once you've accomplished that to-do list of today. Nick, I see you guys. Felipe, hey buddy. Aaron, you're always here. I appreciate you. Michael, I see these comments. Jay, all of you guys, I appreciate the commentary. We've written books, most of us, right? And so if we think about the American dream being to publish a book, because that was an American dream for a minute, especially within my friends group, and then we do it, is it over? Or does Nick go, hey, new idea, new book? Do my friends go, new idea, new topic, let's write, let's dream? Do we market that same kind of concept to you? And do we do it ethically? Do we do it honestly? Because I think we do. My friends group lives their dreams and they do it openly, and we take hits and we stumble and we might be running in the Olympic track. Sometimes we skin our knee, but we will finish the race either way. Doesn't mean we're always first. No. Doesn't mean that we always get it done the way we hope. No. But does it mean that we're still dreaming and trying and acting and pushing and training and trying and telling you what we did wrong so maybe you can skip the pothole we hit? Yep. We can tell you, hey, we twisted our ankle on this corner. Be careful. Yep. Dreams are illusions from the book your soul is writing about you. Marcia Norman. I don't know Marcia. She's actually somebody that I am writing down in my things to learn section on my piece of paper. I want to learn more about her. I just asked ChatGPT for some quotes on dreams so I could get some inspiration and think about where we were going to go. And this one hit me right in my face. Because I truly believe that soul and purpose and drive and passion and fire, and it's all a Venn diagram of God's plan for me. And If that's true, then a dream is just like a SOS, a Morse code messaging, a little bit of a flashcard from above saying, hey, get it done. There's something I need you to do. And if you just start walking, if you just start writing, are you guys hearing me? Is it coming up for you? This is where it comes next, right? Like this thing. Have you ever seen this from Melissa? You will write your story either way. Now, if you're not dreaming, wherever you are, American or not, if you're not dreaming, if you're not writing it down, if you're not intentionally moving towards your goal, somebody else is going to shift for you because humans are always shifting. Think of the bubbles, right? There's more of marketing in my visuals than you think. If you've coached with me, you get it. But those bubbles are always floating, moving. They're never stagnant. Neither are our dreams. Neither are the goals. Because truth be told, you could have had a goal 3 years ago. You've been working on, you had the same plan, you were doing it, you were tapping, it was working, it was working, it was working. Something shifts. LinkedIn shifts. They changed the algorithm. Your million views a year, which I did, I exceeded over 1 million impressions and engagements and all of that in a year, drops because of their shift. Now, I will tell you, that doesn't mean that momentum changes necessarily because it takes one person to have that conversation to change your life. But it shifted. So what do? Do I keep doing the exact same thing or do I shift? You're going to write your story either way. What do you do? If the world shifts around you, do you stand still? Do you move? There are moments where being still is better. Remember this, okay? I got to tell you, I want you to remember sometimes, like quicksand moments, being still is better. That doesn't mean we stay there forever, but sometimes just pausing to assess gives you some time. You're not really hurting anybody, you're not hurting yourself, you're just being still to assess what your next move should be, especially in quicksand moments. The more you move in quicksand, the further you go down. So if you are going to move, shouldn't you be moving towards the branch that will help you pull yourself away from the suction pulling you in? Or are you just going to flail like those you've seen in the pool, like the kid who refuses to put their feet down. They're in water, they can stand it, but they're flailing because they're drowning and they can't stand up. And then all of a sudden they stop moving, they assess, they stand up and they're fine. If they do that same action in quicksand, they're gone. Right? Water, you have a little bit of, but quicksand, no. And so think about how you're moving, when you're moving, why you're moving, right? For me, this is vital for my story. This is vital for my dream. This is vital to make sure that the American dream that I have remains inclusive of not hurting somebody else's dream to make mine possible. I don't want to cut you out of the parachute just so I can be part of it. And if that's a mindset you have where you have to cut people out to feel successful, ask yourself why. Is it because they become quicksand? You have to move away from something that's sucking you in to hurt you? Because there are those out there who will. I see it in the news. I don't care what your belief system is. Don't even share it, please. But whatever side you're on in America politics right now, the other side feels like quicksand sometimes, right? It doesn't feel helpful. It feels like it's sucking something away from you. And every time you shift with them, it doesn't feel great, right? And that doesn't mean it has to stay that way, but you have to write down what's making it feel not good for you, your beliefs, and then act on it. Talk to the people you care about in your space, not mine. Talk to the people who can facilitate change for that. Same goes with your job, guys. If you're unhappy at work, talk to the people who can help you change the situation there. If your dream is to work at this company forever, but this company isn't doing anything but creating a quicksand environment for you. Talk to somebody who can be the rope that pulls you out, right? Felipe is a great resource for this. He's the HR guy. You guys probably heard. We do a show once in a while. We're on a break right now because we're resting, but I mean, we talk about it all the time. Go watch the Careers, Chaos, and Coaching shows on YouTube. Go follow him too, right? Go check out both of us over there. But if you need help, you can't just complain. You can't just flail. You can't just throw your arms around and go, oh my gosh, this. You have to pause, assess, get a plan, and act on it. If you're not sure if your plan's the best plan, ask for help. But again, here I am telling you to overlap with somebody else's circle. Here I am telling you don't do it alone. Here I am telling you slow down to speed up. Make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. Okay. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Now, I'm going to claim it right now, guys. My future is very Star Trekky. I got to be honest. I didn't get into Star Wars as much as some of my friends. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not a hater. Just, it never really resonated. I was 18. I watched it out of almost like requirement from the roommates who could not believe I had lived my whole life and not seen the series. And so I sat down and I watched it, and it was great. It was fine. Could I tell you much about it? No. Do I know a couple of characters' names? Yeah. Would I pass trivia to be a millionaire? No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. But what I did love growing up was Star Trek. It was on every night. We didn't have cable, so I watched that. And it was this melting pot of galaxies of humans and races and species and whatever the terminology was they were using in their show, the fictional space, right? But it's the one I wanted to be in. You fast forward, you think about Melissa at 18 as a single parent struggling, and and I got really down, guys, and trigger warning for suicide and postpartum. But I was really down and out. I had meant to go to the military after my grandfather, who I dropped out of high school to take care of, passed away. My 18th birthday was in September, and I got pregnant right before I was supposed to go. Okay, life changed. And then I dealt with it, but I was going because there was no stability. When grandpa passed away, I could no longer legally live in my grandmother's home. She had lived in a retirement community of 55 and older, and the only waiver we had for me to be there was that I was a live-in caregiver. That was allowed, right? And so I was losing my home. I had a birthday party where I didn't make the best adult decisions. I mean, I was only one day into adulthood, but I got pregnant. I had to figure it out, and I went through phases of homelessness during my pregnancy, guys. I wasn't with the child's father to begin with, and so we tried to date. It wasn't working well, and we are friendly today. I gotta say, there's a mutual respect that's there, but it wasn't great. And he went to prison for his behavior, and I was struggling as a pregnant person. I ended up living with a Native American neighbor of my best friend who fed me fry bread every day for a week because that's all we could afford was the flour and the oil and the sugar and the salt to make it happen. Um, it wasn't perfect, right? And I'm just reflecting, and so I'm sorry if it's contemplative and a little drawn out, but I'm revisiting times I didn't expect to revisit. It just came up, and I think too, finally caving and going back home to mom's house. And it was hard for me because my mom had an addiction. My mom had a depression. I had a little sister who was living a life I had already escaped and or thought I had escaped. I went and I applied for assistance to get housing and all of the things they say, are resources, but there is a waiting list and it takes a long time to qualify. And so I was just trying to hold on. It was like my hope rope I've talked about too, where I just needed some thread and I would call every day. They'd say, check in once a month to stay active on the list. I called every day. What number am I on the list? They're like, ma'am, you haven't moved since yesterday. That's okay. What's that number today? The next day, what's that number today? Finally, they told me, you're it. But before that call, days before, I was in a room that had knee-high clothing and toys. It was my sister's room. My mom wasn't parenting. My mom had the other room in the apartment. And this is where I was supposed to have my newborn. And I was just deflated. I was depressed. I was recovering from a C-section. I had a newborn baby. I was absolutely in postpartum and didn't realize it. And struggling, right? Like situational depression too. It was a real situation to be in. And I contemplated suicide that day and I genuinely was ready. So ready that I was aware enough to go, okay, my suicidal tendencies, thoughts leave. They're fleeting. They don't last very long. So let's buy time. And I was sitting there I'm a little out of order right now because the memories are flooding in, but I was on the bed, suicidal, thinking about ending it, guaranteed going to end it. It's time. I just need something to kill enough time. Sorry for the words, to spend enough time to get through that moment, right? It's just like a nicotine craving. I eventually used the same concept to quit smoking. It was a 10-minute craving. That's the average length of a craving. And then your body transitions away. So if I could just spend 10 minutes focused on something else for 10 minutes, then maybe I can bypass that smoking. Same concept in that dark thought. And as I'm contemplating how I'm going to spend that time to see if I mean it or not, I look down and I see this kid on the back cover of a book. And he's got this scratch on his forehead and he's got these goofy little circular glasses and he's on a broom. He's wearing a robe. And I'm like, what's wrong with this kid? But it caught my attention. It was fun and it was interesting. And it was enough for me to go and lean forward and grab it out of the pile. And I quickly read over the back cover and it caught my attention. And guys, if you don't know who I'm talking about yet, I was talking about Harry Potter. It was the first Harry Potter book, kind of tucked into this chaos. And I opened the book to see how many pages it was, and it wasn't more than a couple hundred pages, I think, 200 and some change. And I'm a quick reader. I always have been. And it was a wide spacing. It was meant for youth, right? For the small ones. And I said, okay, I'm going to read this book. And if at the end of this book, which I always traveled in books, I'm one of those people who will literally be sitting in the garden, in the, secret garden with you, smelling the flowers if I'm reading that book. And so I thought, I'm going to disconnect. I'm going to go away. And if I come back and I'm still feeling it, I'm doing it. Obviously, we know how this ends because I wouldn't be here to tell you today about the story if I chose at the end of the book to complete the thought process. And I didn't. And I'm so grateful. But that's where I was living in the moment. Okay. And so when we talk about the American dream, some of us dream of a clean house. I have seen, because of social media and the power of the video and reels, I have seen others have small dreams satisfied, right? We see these people go out and do good things and give money out and they're praying for like that $1,000 to pay rent, or they're praying for that one thing to get their medicine. Guys, we're dreaming about basic necessities, not just the 2.5 and the car and the house and the picket fence. But there are people out here dreaming about basic necessities, and then there are others dreaming huge and successfully executing dreams and cashing six-figure checks every day and replicating it over and over. And you know what? Neither of them are false dreams. They're not wrong. Not in an incorrect, you shouldn't dream that way sort of way. Is it wrong to have to dream for some of these things? That, yes, I do believe. Because as somebody who was hungry as a child, I ate because of programs. As somebody who was a single mom who was not launching from the most successful household, it was hard to get started. What helped me was that phone call every day to get housing assistance, to get welfare, to get the things that gave me food, shelter, water, electricity, to then be able to attend the classes they gave to learn how to type because I'm older than Google. I existed before typewriting or typing classes were required. I You didn't know how to type 35 words a minute when I was a teenager, guys. That wasn't a thing that was natural. Now, my teenager probably naturally hits 65 and doesn't never even had to do the typing stuff we did, right? If you think about the shifts of dreams. My great aunt, Carol, she was fantastic on a typewriter, 100 and something words a minute. She was one of those people who my grandma just bragged about. As soon as typewriters were no longer commonly used in an office, I tried to teach her how to use the computer, and I swear she was going to bang that mouse right through the desk, like just right through a hole, because she didn't understand rolling the mouse. She didn't understand that. She just wanted to type. Her dream had to shift to maintain her dream, right? Her dream of being in front of the courtroom or the office or doing any of that stenography work or any of that had to shift. It shifts every day. Guess what? AI has made us have to shift again. Our dreams have to change. The way we did what we always did has shifted. So we go back to let's define it for yourself. What does the new dream look like? And that's what I want you to remember, guys. The American dream is a shifting idea, it's a shifting concept, not only because of the landscape we're in and people telling us how we should define it, and those in authority maybe being able to redirect how it's defined with permission, mind you. You have to vote, you have to change, you have to act on the things you don't like, and you have to keep voting for the things you like. That's just the rules. I can't say I would agree with 100% of my network on their belief system. As a matter of fact, there's quite a few of you who have told me what your belief system is, and I know for a fact we don't align. Does that mean you're wrong? In my book, maybe, right? You're not the right solution for me, which by default, if you're not the right solution for me, you're the wrong solution for me. You're the incorrect solution, maybe. Now, that said, I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm here to tell you to think and to hopefully think about it as the Olympic circles, that Venn diagram of overlapping colors and nations and people and humans, to take itself, copy paste through the entire screen, side, up, down, left, right. Think Willy Wonka and the Wonka Vader. Every direction it can go. Infinity Googleplex. Like just forever. That's my dream. And if you don't want your circle to overlap with my friends who maybe look different or from a different space, think differently, believe differently. If you're not open to talking to people from other faiths or countries or backgrounds or industries or mindsets, that's okay. Just remove your circle from my circle because I'm going to accidentally connect you to all of those other people if you stay connected to me. Because my job is to overlap the circles. Always has been. It's not a secret. Not if you've been paying attention, right? And so, what are you overlapping with, guys? What is your dream? How does it overlap with the people around you? If I were to ask you to revisit some of these quotes, right, and we're going to go through them, which one is your favorite? You can give me the color of the quote, you can give me the author of the quote, you can give me a new quote. But if you had to define the American dream in a quote, not limited to just one sentence, what is that? If I had to ask you to show me one quote that summarized it all for you to the best of its capability, right, within our time frame and within what's already written, what is it? So I'm going to read them again one more time. The American dream is a dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. James Truslow Adams. All right, let me go to the next one. The American promise is not the promise that all will be rich or all powerful. It is the promise that all shall have their chance. Lyndon B. Johnson. We become not a melting pot, but a beautiful mosaic. Different people, different beliefs, different yearnings, different hopes, different dreams. Jimmy Carter. I'll be honest, guys, if we all dreamed to be the CEO of the same company, the company would fail. We would have a lot of salty people not wanting to do the work because they're not in the position they want. There would be nobody to support the CEO in the efforts, no passion below to ensure the company was thriving because, well, I didn't get what I wanted. I think there's reason, there's a variety of dreams, right? So I digress. Let me get back into it. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great, strong land of love. Langston Hughes, poet, Harlem Renaissance. Dreamers are illustrations from the book Your Soul is Writing About You. Marcia Norman. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Eleanor Roosevelt. And then maybe you know this lady. She turned her dreams into plans and her plans into legacy. I got to tell you, I did that with help of my friends. Okay. But I want to remind you guys, I don't just state these things, I live these things. And I do it with my friends. Proof right here. It's documented. Totally able to be found. As a matter of fact, it was found by so many they became international bestsellers. My legacy is one of documentation, then action, of action plans, of clarity, of being open to new perspectives, of taking in all perspectives. Somebody this week accused me um, of just, what was the word? I don't even know. It slips my mind. Anyway, uh, prophetic, maybe? I forget the word. But I was just thinking about it, just somebody who sits and really just harnesses the power of what they learn, somebody who reflects on all knowledge. And I love that. If that is my ripple, that's great. That is a dream I want to maintain. Somebody who will look at me and go, wow, you take this information, you process it out loud, and I just see the philosophy come out of you. Philosopher, I think is what the term was they used. Cool. Let's get philosophical. But how? By writing, by tapping into yourself, by really reflecting, by getting into action and not doing it alone. It takes a village is something my grandma used to say, and I truly believe it because honestly, when I was pregnant and I was hungry and I had moved on from my child, like my first pregnancy, my son, I was homeless. Like I said, I was living on fry bread. When I was pregnant for my daughter, Peyton, when she was in my tummy, I was outside on the front patio in Mesa and I was just sweeping our sidewalk. We had these loose stones that would get kicked around if people walked beyond the sidewalk. And I like to walk barefoot outside, especially when I was pregnant. I was swollen. And I wouldn't go very far, but I like to go step outside onto the steps and watch the kids play. And so I just swept the rocks. And there's something about sweeping and some kind of, juju of you're not supposed to sweep because of spirits when you're pregnant. And I was like, oh, okay. But the neighbor lady came over. She's like, no, 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 no. And she's speaking in Spanish and she's like, stop. And she's taking the broom from me. I was like, what's going on? And her daughter came out and said, hey, this is what we believe. What pregnant women shouldn't be sweeping. My mom would be happy to sweep your porch for you. I had a stranger who did not speak my language, a neighbor who was right next door, but I didn't really know. I was busy with kids and pregnancy and a lot of things going on, health wise, while I was pregnant. And yet, a stranger took care of me. because of their belief system. They acted to protect me because they believed I was going to hurt myself by doing this simple thing, that it wouldn't help me or benefit me to do this pretty beneficial thing, right? I'm just cleaning. And somebody volunteered to clean for me because they believed that this action would hurt me if I did it myself. Right or wrong, whether they were accurate or not, whether it was truth based or not, their belief system got them into action to help somebody they didn't know. And not only did they help somebody they didn't know, but they jumped boundaries of language, hoping to use like visual cues of let me do it, pointing at my belly, and luckily at being raised in Arizona, I had a pretty okay grasp on understanding what people said to me in Spanish. I could pick up enough context clues that I could facilitate the conversation and at least say yes or no or whatever, or thank you, right? But to hear somebody care that much about a stranger really impressed me. It really made an impact. The same way my teacher asking me to refocus on the things that were driving me, the things that matter to me, why I was who I was and who started before me, right? It goes back to this whole concept of the more you reflect, the more you learn. And I really am trying to be more in reflection the second half of the year. And I don't know about you guys, but I recommend it highly, highly, highly recommend it. Because the more you reflect, the more you learn. The more I reflect back on those times, the kindest people that I met were not related to me. The kindest people, the most helpful people that I met um, had started as strangers. They weren't blood. They weren't even friends to begin with. They were just somebody who was there who understood what it was like and didn't want that next person to do it alone. I, I struggle with today's concept of the American dream that I'm seeing marketed by some because as somebody who has gone without a meal, as somebody who had a mother who was homeless for years on the street, and there was nothing I could do to help her because of mental health, because of addiction, because I was still growing and learning how to even make ends meet myself. Truth be told, I wasn't there and ready. I still have family who is homeless or struggling with addiction. And it's really hard because I have hope for them and I pray for them and I want to help. But there are certain situations where people have to want to help themselves and you can't force the alignment, right? And that's something else as a coach and as somebody who's lived the life I've lived, I've had to learn and harness. And so I'm very aware that I appreciate people who will reach out and try. I'm also very aware that not everybody feels like they can try because they're on their own life raft in the moment, in this segment of their life. And I don't want you to feel like you're not sufficient in any way because I'm making these statements. That's not it, right? This is a me belief system, my perspective. But what if we could, instead of maybe not being helpful, we can't help in this moment, but what if we just didn't hurt the other? What if the American dream was to go back to a show I did before, but what if we could make the new American dream to be the person you needed when you were younger? Because honestly, person, place, thing, I don't care how you want to swap it out. But really, if you look at the American dream you have today and you Venn diagram it with who you were before, as a child, as a youth, growing up in your last role, whatever that old version, former version looks like, that new version looks like, right? Get as many circles out as you need. But how many of you think that your American dream or your current dream, wherever you're at, is tied to a lacking or a desire from your childhood? I don't know how to define it for you, right? But for me, my dream is nobody's hungry because if nobody's hungry, that means there's no child with an empty tummy. I remember being told, go to bed when I told them, hey, can I get a snack? I'm still hungry. I'm not judging her. I'm not mad at her. Please don't be mad at my mother either. There are times where kids just, make stuff up and they want to stay up, but there were times where we were genuinely hungry, and I don't know what's what. I think about today. How many people globally might have to give their children that same, it's okay, baby, just go to sleep because of events around their neighborhood, because of what their country is going through, because of leadership, their city, because of devastation of natural events recently. When we had a house fire, and this was years after I left welfare intentionally and walked away, and I quit the government without notice. I broke up with them. I didn't even say goodbye. I needed to make it to where I couldn't return to them. I wouldn't qualify again for housing. Not necessarily ruin it, but just like I would have to reapply, and I couldn't have as a net. In that moment when I moved away, that's what I needed. But I think about that now, and I think about it after the house fire that took everything we own, almost took my daughter, and how the Salvation Army gave us a place to live for a week because we had nowhere. I can't help that I've lived some of these chaotic moments, and sometimes I even feel like, did it really even happen? Like, this seems so dramatic for somebody. Like, she's always such a drama queen. Yeah, I wish it was dramatized for your enjoyment. I'm actually trying to keep the drama out of it. Truthfully, I'm trying to not share the worst of the worst stories. I'm getting ready to go to Arizona with Jackie. We're going to meet up, do some emotional women stuff. We're really hoping we can talk to some transitional facilities, shelters, small groups, book clubs. It doesn't matter, right? We just want to make an impact over there. But the other plan is to take my business partner for the emotional women to see how and where I grew up, to understand what it was like to walk through my local grocery store, right? She is in Michigan. She has her own experience. I can't wait to travel and go and have her take me to the neighborhoods my family's from, because I was the first Arizona kid, but they're all from Michigan. And that's probably why I love Jackie so much and heard the accent she swore she didn't have, and everybody knows she has now. But I want her to see it because I can say it all day, but until you put your eyes on it, you may not understand, right? And I'm not saying she doesn't, but I just want her to have that firsthand view of what the walk to school looked like, what my high school looked like, where my husband lived in correlation to my grandmother, and how we were less than like a quarter of a mile apart pretty much our whole lives. It wasn't until we moved the farthest away that we came back together, right? So that kind of thing. But here's the thing, it only works for me to go show her this Jackie Hallberg lady. Do you know Jackie Hallberg? Say Jackie if you know her, tag her if you know her. She's probably here. She's busy, I know, but she also might have ran away. She has stuff. But what I will say is, um, taking her there, letting her see it, letting her experience it, letting her have a deeper understanding of me and me, her, right? And that's what happened on LinkedIn too. That's why we know each other. That's the whole point. I wouldn't know Jackie unless I was willing to show up with my circle, be willing to overlap, connect, coach, consult, coffee chats, tea time, all of the stuff we've done here wouldn't have happened without me showing up with my circle, willing to overlap, replicate, copy paste all the way through. That overlap drew us together. Same thing with all of you guys. I didn't know you. I don't see any of you from my childhood in the comments. They live on the other blue platform typically. So they might be listening over there. If you guys are, say hi. I haven't really focused on that other blue platform in a long time. But I will say this. LinkedIn brought me you guys. And LinkedIn brought you guys to me and vice versa, whatever. Like my brain's circling. Let me focus. We're going to tap in and really get to understand each other. And Michael said something, trauma, drama can breed empathy. I hear the empathy. It resonates and touches deeply, Melissa. And that's really that. What if we had an empathetic America? Because truth be told, guys, if we were to Google what the Statue of Liberty says right at the bottom, have you ever? Does anybody know the quote? I'm going to pull it up, but before I get there, because I know we're going to get there. Do you know what it is? Just naturally. Because at one point in my life, I know I could recite it because it was a poster on my like third grade wall. And it sat there every day. Here we are. Statue of Liberty quote. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shores. Send these, the homeless, tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Now, if you would just, let's pretend I'm assigning this to you as an English teacher. I want you this week to break that down. Literally tear it apart, put it back together on what it means for you, how it overlaps with you. Your American dream. This is an example of how I use Venn diagrams with clients. Okay. It's never just simple stuff, but it's just a simple concept that we break up data with. So your version of the American dream, you gave it maybe in the comments already in the show. Maybe you wrote it down for yourself. Maybe you thought it but didn't want to share it. That's fine. That's your first circle. I want the second circle to be the Statue of Liberty, the quote, what it meant. Because what you define it as and what America has been marketing as a slogan for liberty and life and the pursuit of happiness, something that we use in lots of ways, right? It's on a lot of our marketing materials. Isn't it that statue, isn't it on some of our money? Hints of it somewhere. I don't know, guys. Tell me where you found it, where you see it, where it's marketed. But I believe the marketing. Just like Nike, just do it. I believe it. I was raised to believe it. I was raised in a place that was pretty diverse. And then I moved to Washington, and it's diversity times diversity compared to where I was raised. There's a more global diversity in Washington because we're closer to an international line. I mean, Mexico is, but there's this international airport in Seattle that brings in more travelers, right? So for me, and then Canada, and you got all of these people coming and going up and down. And if you're going to come from Europe or a different, like over a continent from way over there, it's really easy to hit two countries at the same time on the border I'm on. So we see a lot of diversity, and it's really cool. How much diversity do you see in your town, your school, your home, your parties, your birthdays, your weddings, your baptisms? How much time do you spend invited to diverse functions? Have you ever been to a Diwali ceremony or an event? Have you ever been to a Jewish experience, like a holiday? I went to midnight mass with my Catholic friend just to experience it. I'm not Catholic, but I wanted to understand what that was. I was invited and I said yes. What about the neighbor that you hate their music? They're always partying. Have you ever invited them to your barbecue? So maybe they invite you to theirs. And then maybe when you need them to turn it down because Sally's sleeping, you can ask them because, hey, you're friends now. You've been to each other's parties. You remember the American dream was like bringing casseroles over when your neighbor went through trouble? That marketing. I do. That was the dream I wanted. I still feed my neighbors. Matter of fact, I host a community event with the permission of my employer. They even budget for it to bring people together. The industry I work in my day job is a very diverse industry as well. There are all types of Motorcycles, there are all types of riders. You can do street, dirt, track, off-road. You could do a sports bike. You could do a V twin, right? You could have a little Grom, which is a tiny little motorcycle. Always wins our races that we have. You could do something huge and big with multiple wheels. You can even have your bike put wheels down at the stoplight for you so you don't have to hold it up. So people who might have arthritis or have issues holding up such a heavy machine can still ride. It's such a diverse thing that you will see both criminals and police officers riding at the same light at this and waving at each other. How do I know? Because the criminal came in, admitted, oh my gosh, I just waved at a cop. He waved at me, said I had a nice bike. And then they admitted that they might have an open warrant for their arrest. I don't, I'm not a police officer. I didn't ask for the info. But listen, the diversity of that kind of group and the passion that they can just wave at each other and treat each other as humans, even in spite of. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, guys. I'm not saying that you should have open warrants or any of that stuff. But there was a respect that wasn't commonly shown without the motorcycle. Something that I had seen in my work experience was dissolved. That pre-existing notion of who's on the other side of it, the circle, dissolved because of two wheels. That's cool. They're in their passions. They get to ride what they want. They get to dress the way they want. They get to do it the way they want. This industry is all about passion and fun and fueling it. I love that. They define it for themselves. Their American dream, some of them, it's to not go across country on a bike. They would never, but they will tow it behind their truck. And when they get to the destination, they would love to take an hour-long loop around the town. There are others who dream about taking their bike from Washington State down to the tip of South America. One of them happens to work for me. He told me this on a sports bike, no less. If you've ridden a motorcycle, know anything about a sports bike, it's not really meant for that kind of touring at all. But that's his dream. And who am I to tell him it's wrong? No, nobody. As a matter of fact, I'm nobody to tell him he shouldn't have that dream as a human, any human. Maybe you want to be a human in southern Argentina that wants to ride all the way up to the border of Canada. Maybe you want to go even further into Canada and ride until you can't, until the trees stop your path, because at some point it does. I've heard because others had followed their dream to go as north as they could. Guys, let me ask a really hard hitting question right now for anybody who's been following politics heavily and pushing your color crayon across the aisle, whatever color. Who are we to define somebody else's dream? And I mean that to the parents, the siblings, the business partners. We can't define somebody else's dream. Now, if we're overlapping there, we can definitely define the overlapped center of the dream. If we're going to dinner, we can overlap on what we want to eat as a theme. Maybe it's Mexican night or Italian night, or maybe we want Greek, or maybe we want insert here, right? I don't care. It doesn't mean we have to order the exact same thing. And it doesn't mean just because I went with you to that restaurant that you get to order for me, right? Simple analogies, guys, simple metaphors, simple things to think about in this show. But I really want you to reflect on it. If you have some commentary or questions, or if you want to join the stage, message me. I don't want it to get political. I will mute you if you do. I don't want to hear anything negative about administrations, right? Because we all have our opinions, but that doesn't mean we all have to experience everybody's opinion on it. You guys showed up to my show, so I'm expecting you want to hear my perspective. I don't know that everybody in the audience necessarily has that same thing going for them. I don't know how to say it. So be kind if you come up, because I want to maintain the show's empathy, as Michael put it. I want to have it be the focus of dreams for us being the dream that matters for us, ours. We don't speak for others, we speak for us. If our dream overlaps with somebody else's dream, if you're partnered up in a business, of course there's something that then matters. It does matter for sure. However, you don't get to control the partner, right? We just have to communicate it. We have to talk. We have to meet in the middle. And so remembering that if we are all partners in this country, city, county, state, globe, uh, galaxy, universe, whatever, and we maintain that belief system that we don't have to control it for you, just for us, that we don't have to have the exact same colored crayon. As a matter of fact, if you could imagine trees behaving the way that some of these politicians, any side, I don't care, pick one, just imagine they're all trees. Imagine trees talk to each other the same way. And I want you to really pause. I know there's a delay here, so I want to make sure that the comments have a moment to catch up with me here. But let's take people out of it. Swap the humans that have been floating in your brain this whole conversation, whatever they were for you, make them trees. And imagine you say, this tree can't be here. Now, there are some invasive species of trees or plants like mint. If you ever plant mint in the ground, it will take over the whole thing. It will. So I understand there's invasive species of plants and trees and whatever. But imagine, if you will, follow my belief system, that God created me and the trees. He had a purpose for both of us to be here. I believe that. That's my belief. And if he had a reason for the variety of tree, maybe he also, in Melissa's head, would have a reason for the variety of humans, experiences, beliefs, faiths, actions, passions, purpose. If you bear with me here and makes God a CEO of a business, the business of humanity. Okay, we'll just call it that. If he made us all the exact same role in the company, all do the exact same thing, exact same ideas and concepts, what happens? What happens when you fill a room of yes men or women or humans in, and there's no accountability or pushback on ideas? There's no evolution of, there's no, hey, no, the pen's great. We have a pen. We don't need to improve the pen. Somebody's like, well, I want a red pen. No, we're all using blue pens here. Could you imagine? Hey, I want a color, but I'm sorry, we only use black paint here. I'm sorry, we only use one color paint. That's all we get. I'm sorry, we only have one type of food the entire time you live in this world. Hey, only one fruit ever. Guys, think about what life looks like if we stop having the diversity. You remember those restaurants I mentioned? Why are they in your neighborhood? Who runs them? Why did they have a dream to open a restaurant? Have you asked? Do you even know? Are you one of those people who goes into a shop and talks to the owners, talks to the staff? Hey, how are you today? What's going on? How's business? What made you, how long have you guys been here? What made you want to work here? Because I am. I go through a mall. I found this new tea company here in Bellingham. Freaking love the concept. It's like a Costco for teas, but it's a smaller. But you can go in and buy in bulk. Just loose leaf teas. You can mix your own flavors. There's hundreds of flavors there. And up here in the Pacific Northwest, we do a lot of coffee and tea. It's overcast a lot. It's usually between 40 and 70 degrees, right? Perfect tea weather. Then they have a bunch of cute little stuff for the tea leaves, things you can put in your hot water to soak on the side of the cup. They have little sloths, which are all the rage in Bellingham, Washington right now. I don't know why, but it's taken over the town. I I love all of it. So then I go to the counter. I'm like, hey, this is a cool shop. Giving feedback. Why not say thank you? This is cool. Even if it's just the worker hearing, Maybe the last guy said it was too expensive or this is stupid, right? Let me tell him I think it's cool. What made, and he's like, thanks, it's my shop. Really? What made you open here? What's going on? Where did this start? What made you decide tea? And I got this whole backstory on the owner of this tea company that's inside the mall, got a business card, which happens to be a completely different business. Did the same thing at a thrift store, a secondhand store downtown Bellingham. And it was all really cool. Oh, my grandfather when he came over, or oh, my father this, or oh, I traveled, I'm from here, and then I became a citizen, and now I wanted to have a store and always run it and bring. It's so cool, so cool for me. Maybe you don't want to know why people are here. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you don't talk to your waiters or waitresses because they're beneath you. But I got to tell you, my mom was one, and so if my mother was beneath you, um, please disconnect today, right now. Go away. I Yeah. See, because at any moment I would be happy to be a waitress. I love watching people live life. I love watching families enjoy Sunday brunch. One of my favorite ways to celebrate is to go to a small diner, something where there's only 20 booths, maybe. Something mom and pop where they've picked the artwork themselves. They might like done all of the designing themselves. Something where you're getting served too much food for the moment and you always have some take home, takeaway, right? Where the coffee smells just as strong as the bacon. That is my dream place to spend my morning. So if you wouldn't hang out there and you would not respect the person who helps facilitate my dream environment because she may also wait her own tables, which is the truth of my local diner. She's the owner and the waitress, and actually the waitress who had been there the longest bought the business when the owner retired. And so if you don't respect the waitress who's the business owner, because maybe she's not in a picture or a profile or whatever on LinkedIn, we shouldn't be friends. I don't want people who judge by a cover. I want people who judge by the fruits of the labor like I was taught. Now, that's me. I will also remind you if you're late to the show, full disclaimer, this is a personal passion project. These are my ideas, views, and opinions, and I do not represent the views of any current, former client, affiliated organization. Also, this community is built on curiosity, respect, and growth. So while the discussion is real and raw and sometimes emotional, listeners are expected to keep all comments and engagement respectful and appropriate. We don't hate, harassment, or heckling. And I also asked for not your assessment on other people's dreams. We are here to self reflect and not assess others, unless it's me sharing my perspective about my experience, because that's my show and that's what the premise is of the show every week. So I am the unique exempt portion of the show, right? Because I am the show. But guys, be nice to each other. I don't care which country you're from. I don't care what your belief systems are. Please don't say you know what the problem is, because there's more than one problem. And everybody's perspective is different. And it could be your problem, but my problem might be that you have a problem with the problem, right? And so it can just compound itself. That's why we're not doing it. We can share our beliefs. We can take it private. You guys can go have a coffee chat if you want to talk about these things privately. That's the best way to play. But in my opinion, especially here on my show today, please, because it's a topic that's touchy. And I have an employer and I have other people I represent, brands beyond that. And so I don't want to risk it because we may not overlap on the same belief system. I don't want to risk it if you think that we need to make it more political than it's been to this point. I just made all politicians trees. Anything beyond the tree talk is a risk for me, right? And so think about it. If we're trees, how would trees communicate to each other about what they should be doing? Do you ever hear a tree say, "Hey, dude, drop your fruit"? Now, it's supposed to be kind of funny to live the moment, but think about it. Think about it. I know there are people out there who don't always make it feel like they're helping you with your dream. There's another part to that, though, and they're not obligated. There's many who aren't. And even those who are obligated sometimes are so busy holding on to their own life raft that they don't have the bandwidth to help. Think about that before we assess humans, right? Gosh, my own life. There are friends of mine I don't get to talk to all the time. It'll be a month and I don't speak to them. It'll be years. I don't see them. And then they show up at my door and we're best friends and they're sitting on my lap with a big old hug and a kiss and oh my gosh, I missed you. And they're sitting on my lap because if they jumped on me as we stood up, I'd fall over. So they know better. They wait till I'm sitting down and they just tackle me. It's a smart way to play. And those are beautiful relationships. And they come and go, in and out, focus and not focus, but there's still an overlap that always exists. The reason I have those things is because at some point we do have to we'll share our opinions, right? The Venn diagram has the overlap and there are definitely different segments depending on how much overlap is there that are separate and they do not overlap and they vary. That's the careers chaos and coaching effect, right? Where Felipe and I do overlap on a lot of things and then the differences on the outside are the things that we can talk about ourselves, our experiences, because Felipe and I were not in the same house. And even if we were in the same house, my sister and I lived in the same house, but we were 5 years apart. The perspectives of coming into being a teenager, right? Going from 9 to 10, even. Let's just start there. The mother in front of my sister at that age was not the same person with actions, behaviors, and that accountability structure around them that my sister had, that I had, right? Like 5 years difference, it wasn't the same upbringing. Best way to state it. And so even if we're from the same place, it doesn't mean we're going to look at things the same way. They're different. And I think what we lose is when people want to make that happen, when we force each other to think like each other. I'm not asking you to think like me. I'm asking you to think like you, but keep your thoughts to yourself unless you want to post on your own post, right? And I don't even want to be tagged in the post, to be honest. You can send it to me in the DMs and I'll come support it because this is a very driven conversation for you to tackle with you. So let's think about it. Let's go back to it. We're going to take the American out of it because it's a global show. It was kind of a marketing gimmick, if I'm being honest with you. A little bit of the bait and switch because I don't want to get political. And I know the American dream is a hot button topic, but it should be. And it should be for every dream in every country, everywhere. Swap that American for any location you want. Take it out completely, just a red line it. The dream. And then put by your name. What is your dream? What does it look like? How do you get it to work for you? And then if it's a good dream that has good benefits, which I assume all of my friends would have, how do you make it overlap like the Olympic rings, copy pasted through the whole screen, always overlapping infinitely? Every color, every rainbow. I mean, think about it, guys. I want you to really envision every crayon Crayola could ever imagine, right? Think about those hex codes. Think about a world where every human just lined up and that We Are the World song starts playing in your head from the 80s. I was raised to believe it. I watched them sing it, right? Make a better place for you and me. And it wasn't one country, one city, one town. It wasn't one group, one earning bracket, one industry. Music industry. I digress a little bit. Okay. They were singers and they all came together. Some actors probably too. But think about it, guys. What if we did that here? We're on a platform that allows us to create that same kind of ripple right now. In the 80s, they did a Hands Across America. Anybody remember that? Anybody else old enough to remember Hands Across America, where they just hand to hand, literally making a human chain coast to coast? Do you know how much communication it must have taken to do that before the internet? How much action and like overlap and come on, come with me, grabbing your friend's hand as you walk forward, the reach back, pull forward effect that must have taken place for that to be effective. How do we make the dream happen? We help each other. But you got to speak to your dreams, guys, right? Because I'll be honest with you, I can't help you become whatever that is for you if I don't know that's your goal. If you don't tell somebody that's the dream. Does that make sense? Help me out here. Let me know if you're still listening in the comments. But if we don't know somebody needs help, we can't help. The other side of that is if I'm telling people, hey, we'll help. Hey, no problem. Hey, just ask. Then when they ask, we got to show up. If I owe you a coffee chat, because I saw somebody said we need to do a coffee chat, message me. I'm so ready to get caught up on coffee chats and do the things and all the stuff. But you have to tell me you're ready to. There are people that I have messaged and then it fell off. If we're in the middle of a conversation somewhere, pick back up, just like my friend of 20 years. She'll just pop in and say something and we just pick right back up where we left off. It's like we just walked out of the room for a bathroom break and came back. Find your people who can do that, guys. Build relationships with people until you can do that. Find dreamers that dream like you, but also find dreamers that do it different. I don't want somebody who wants to do exactly what I want to do to be around me at all times. Because number one, while it's cool to work together, I don't think God has the same plan for me that He does for every friend next to me. Even with the partners that I'm partnered up with, we have different functions in our own way. Do we do a lot of the same stuff? Yeah, our actions overlap a lot. We Venn diagram a lot. We both have circles, but what's in the center of that? Different, right? We're all same soup bowls, different soup. Sorry, my alarm just went off to tell me shut up and hurry up and let's finish this. So let's do this, guys. If you have questions, hit me up. You have just a minute or two in the comments, or you can in the DMs. Send me something. What's coming up for you? Which of these quotes today resonated most with you? And I'm going to go through them again, just on the screen, right? Which of these are the ones you would say made you feel inspired to do the thing, if any? Do you have your own? I still want to know. Because what inspires one person may not inspire another. But if we can share the inspiration, if we can work together to tell people what motivates us and moves us, like you guys. I told you my mom was a waitress. There's something about my mom taking me to breakfast on a Saturday or and sitting there together and having family time and her reading the newspaper and doing the crossword and me doing my little, kids menu crossword and reading my own little article or whatever it was. There was a moment there, guys, and it mattered to me. So when I go and celebrate wins and I smell the coffee, it's almost like mom's sitting there and we're doing it again. That's me. And the only reason you know that about me is because I shared it here. Are you telling the people around you, your boss, your coworkers, your husband, your spouse, your partner, your friends, your network, what you're trying to accomplish? You will write your story either way, right? We talked about that. We talk about that often. You have to document and then act, because if you don't, somebody else is going to write the story for you. If you don't put in your request for the holidays right now for vacation, your boss may assign you a schedule during that example, but true. Same thing goes with the dream you have, the life you have. We don't know how long is left on the clock. I've heard a lot of people say this. I've been listening to a lot of motivational books myself, just revisiting some of the stuff my clients or my network have been sharing. Mel Robbins, for example, and there's been some others, and they talk about this clock that's going, and we've talked about the clock that goes. You are playing a game, and you have no idea how much time is left on the clock. None. You have no idea when the game is over. You don't know who's watching, especially if you're playing on the internet and you have followers and maybe they're watching but don't engage. You're still writing a story with your action. You don't have to know the score in the moment. If you have the ball in your hand and you're running on that football field, you don't need to know where everybody else is as long as you and you know your team is helping you stay on the path. Think about it, right? Who's surrounding you? Who's helping pull you forward? Who are you helping pull forward? Do you trade services with professionals? Do you network with people smarter than yourself? Do you follow people who do what you do but may do it better? One of the very first things I did when I re entered retail after 2 decades of not being in retail, um, I went to Target. I went to their leadership. I went to their marketing. I went to research what they do because every time I walk into Target, I spend way too much money. Every time I walk into Target, it looks different. Every time I walk into Target, it's clean and well stocked. And I got to be honest, Target, I'm mad at your DEI stuff, so whatever. I haven't shopped in a while, but I did emulate their practices in the display. Good at what they did, and I knew it. So you can follow people and do that, but then you got to apply it too. Also, if you're down, if you're watching, if your dreams don't feel like dreams, if they're feeling like nightmares, get in contact with somebody. It could be a coach, it could be a consultant, it could be your therapist, it could be your medical doctor, it could be your partner, family member, it could be a helpline. But don't be alone. And everybody feels it. I have moments where even I go, "Oh, they don't like me. LinkedIn forgot about me. I don't know what happened." If you look at this week, I did a couple of comments. They went gangbusters. I had like 12,000 impressions on one of the comments I made on a post this week, but my own post, 3 likes. Something stupid. Why? I don't know. So don't feel alone if you feel invisible on some of your posts sometimes, or if you don't feel like they're listening. They are. Because even though those posts didn't do a lot, to few I had conversations with, that was momentum. We wrote our story together. We engaged. We overlapped. We did the thing. So I'm going to pull out an older image because really, I want you to think about the blank dream, the dream, right? This way. Your dream in your brain, their dream in their brain. You can make it hearts if you don't want to use the brain. I don't care where you feel your dream is coming from, right? But what if we just have this mindset of working together in what we overlap on? Getting the meeting of the minds back together, getting the meeting of the hearts back together. If we just work on the stuff we do agree on, it's going to build the relationships on the stuff we don't, right? And I'm seeing it in the comments. You guys having a relationship with somebody before you ask them to see your side helps. Create the environment to host the conversation. You're more likely to be able to share your side first. So, being the host, by default, guess what I got to do the whole time? Share my side. I won't come to your show and share my side without permission. Are you getting permission to share your side, even if they don't have a show? I mean, think about it. How many people do you get to allow them to have their side? Or how many people feel like they need to fight to have their side heard in your presence might be another thing to reflect on. And I am not pointing fingers because I am also reflecting on this. This is something that I ask myself quite a bit. As a show host, as somebody who collaborates, I don't always play well with others. And I know this. And sometimes it's because of my personal boundaries, my bubble, my I have to remove it from the overlap to self-assess and go, oh, my bad apple's poison. Hold on, let me get rid of this apple and get a new one in my circle before I put my circle back with other people. It's that assessment. It's that quicksand moment. And I called it that before with husband when we were fighting, where I say something, then he says something, and it's like we both just wiggled a little bit in the quicksand and dug ourselves in deeper. And so then I say something and I'm wiggling and he's saying something. And before we know it, we're up to our heads. We're in neck deep in this conversation of quicksand. And if we would have just shut up and stopped moving, if we would have just assessed without action for just a little bit longer, we would have realized we're both hangry, we're both tired, we're both not mad at each other, but because somebody had a tone and somebody said what with a different tone, and the other person goes what, and not really, but you know what I mean, right? It can escalate quickly. What if we just stopped escalating when it felt like quicksand? What if it wasn't kind, helpful, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, selfness, or selfishness, like all that selflessness? I can't speak today. Guys, the fruits of the spirit, Google it. ChatGPT will bring it back. But what if that was the dream? That your tree, your fruits, your actions didn't hurt the tree near you. It didn't poison the ground of the tree near you. It didn't make it impossible for other trees to grow. Because if I had to pick a political side, and you've lasted this long with respect and doing as I asked, and I appreciate you guys for keeping it civil. I really do, because I know it can get hard and I know it can become the quicksand. But my political stance is that of help them, help them, take them to the job interviews if you have to. If they're willing and they're asking and they're able, let's do it. And if they're not, I feel required to help and assist. Because if there's somebody who can't reach the top shelf at the grocery store, I'm going to grab it for them if I can reach, because I'm short and I know what it's like not to be able to reach. I also have been poor and hungry, so I know what it's like not to eat. I have skipped medical care because I couldn't afford to have it. I have watched my mom not have a place to live because she couldn't afford to have it. I have watched my family struggle with addiction because we couldn't afford the rehabs that were available, and the waiting list aren't just for housing and government services. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm telling you what I've assessed. So if I could do anything, I would make everybody get their crayon out and we would color until the center looked like a shade of all of us, until it was a parachute for all with every color represented, like in that gym class, guys. It's a beautiful thing when we all sit inside together and look up and see this beautiful glow of colors united, working together to make the fun happen, the dream happen. The dream was to make a bubble, rise up above us, to lift it above our heads while we sat inside with air that we worked together to harness together. And that air is life. It's the air that creates that air balloon, right? Like that's where my brain is the air balloon effect. You take that parachute and just put a basket on it, and that is your dream being lifted. Think about what you want to do. Think about how we get there together, not separate. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't give a shit about winning if you guys don't come. I don't, who's going to be at the celebratory party if you're not there? What kind of fun is it if you don't have the right ID to get into my party at the door? I told all of you that you were welcome and I'm grateful for you and I'm here for you. But there's 15,000 plus of you guys. And if there's some kind of protocol to let you into my party of success that you helped me build, that feels weird. Now, should there be some rules to keep everybody safe? We're not going to do anything that's going to hurt you. But at the same time, guys, we can't hurt them in the way we do it, right? So we got to be kind. We got to be bubbles. Bubbles don't hurt other people. They don't even have a sharp edge. It's not possible. Bubbles will break themselves before they hurt others. Reach back, pull forward. Be a bubble. Go be great. Go figure out what your dream is and then ask somebody else about their dream and see how you guys can dream together, work together, and make it happen. I got to get out of here. It's Saturday. I got to go. But if you need help, I'm here. If you want a coach, I'm here. If you need consulting, I'm here. If you're a business who wants the emotional women to show up, we're coming. We'll be there. Get at me. Till next week, guys. It's been great. Thanks so much.
Sunlight creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup buzz a whisper. Conversations open doors. Spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light. Consult the heart, make it sing. New perspectives on each wing.